The following is a presentation of the Control Trends Podcasting Network.
Oh man, happy morning.
Yeah, you too. You at the house or you at the office?
No, I made it all the way into the office today.
Nice.
I had a lady yell at me in the Tim Hortons line for coffee this morning. I don't know if it's the Steel City I'm from or if it was just me tooting the horn to, get her off her phone to move up, but, it's like, Holy moly, lady.
I gotcha. I was thinking when you said the line, I thought you were standing inside. I'm like, gosh, man, you must have really pissed her off for someone to turn around and face.
No. We're talking. She's texting on her phone, looking down. I can see in the mirror, right? And there's tons of room in front of her. And I can hear the Tim Hortons lady in the speaker kind of talk to me. And it's like, well, that's too far for me to do anything about. And so I tooted my horn a little lightly. She turned around. She started yelling at me out the window. Relax. It was like, listen, lady, just get off your phone and do what you're supposed to do. Like, I'm in no rush, but, like, you're in the way.
Yeah, man, I hear you on that. See, that's the thing down with when you're working the horn, like, there are different levels based on how long you hold that thing as to what the message is. So, obviously, when you're in that, it sounds like you did the right thing. Like, it was just, like, hit it for half a second, that it's just kind of like a little alert that says, hey, you need to go. Whereas when you're in traffic and somebody cuts you off and you hold it for, 6 seconds.
Yeah, exactly. A high beam flicker maybe, but it's not, you can't be, yeah, no, exactly. It was a horn toot, not like a horn honk, right? But anyway, man, I'm from Steel City and people can get kind of rowdy. So, by all means, I can be rowdy too. All forgiven.
I got you. It's kind of funny. So I still drive the same truck that I got when I was in high school. It's 2001 GMC Sierra. So it's
nice.
It's a good looking truck. It's decent size, and I'm a normal sized person. I'm about 6 feet. I'll claim to be 6 feet, even though I'm closer to 5'11". And
yeah, me too.
Yeah, and I guess I'm a little bit of a bigger person, but the problem is, so I'm in there and I'm driving this truck and somebody will cut me off. This thing has the wimpiest horn in the world. Like, I'm pretty sure when somebody cuts me off and I go to lay down the horn, it's like a little clown car. Like, it's just like, so it's almost
that's
like
pretty funny.
off, I don't even want to honk the horn because I'm too embarrassed.
No, you gotta stick your head out the window and holler and wave your arm, but you don't want to be that guy either necessarily.
Yeah, exactly. You hear too many cases of road rage and things like that. It's funny you said the thing about the Tim Hortons. So you were getting coffee there. You didn't happen to see the thing online yesterday. It kind of went viral. It was the guy in the bagel shop in New York.
No, I haven't seen that.
Oh my gosh, it was so funny. It's this guy. He freaked out in this bagel line. I'm not sure what led him to it, but he was like 5 feet tall and he's screaming at all the people in there about all the mean messages he gets on dating websites because he's 5 feet tall.
Oh no!
And
oh no!
Screaming at the women in the bagel shop.
It could have been worse. He could have gone postal, but I mean, hey.
Oh, no. Well, some guy came in. He got so rowdy and was yelling at so many people. He got tackled by a guy who was like 6'6". It was just it was really funny. But
when this gets posted up on Control Trends, we're gonna have to put this in the comment sections. That video in the comment section so people can see it. I mean, I think with the Zoom thing, we can actually share content. Like, so you could actually share that hyperlink. But whatever. We were not doing the video recordings. We'll put that in the comment section.
That works. Yeah, that was real funny.
Did anybody ever follow up on the theme song?
No, I don't think so. I don't know. I can't say I checked any comments on it, but I don't think anyone was sorry to break your heart, but
no, I've been thinking a lot about it. It popped into my head the other day, and I got every once in a while I like to skim through the Eagles, like some Hotel California, some Take It Easy, and then I hop right into Joe Walsh, and Life's Been Good's a pretty wicked song.
I hear you. Yeah, I like I like listening to the Eagles. I like listening to oldies. The song I've actually been playing on repeat for weeks now is "Don't Fear the Reaper" by Blue Oyster Cult.
Yep.
And I don't know what it is. Like, there's got to be some type of hypnosis in that song, or just speaks to me. But I can listen to that thing just over and over and over again and never get tired of it. But the whole time, when it first comes on, all I can think of is that Saturday Night Live skit that they did with Will Ferrell and the cowbell.
Oh, yeah. There might be another one we have to get in here. I'm going to make a couple notes of. We're recording too, by the way. I just figured when we start, we may as well get recording. So
yeah, I saw that.
We're going to go YouTube with Bagel Guy.
Yeah, Bagel Boss. God, it was so funny. I think somebody's like telling him to be quiet, and he's like, "Shut your mouth. You're not God, my father, or my boss." And I'm like, so, those three get to talk to you that way?
It's like, oh, shit, boss, respect for the boss out there, right? And, you don't get that too much anymore. Modern HR scrapped that a long time ago.
Yeah, it's just getting but I could already see stuff like people were posting online, like that's going to get turned into a T-shirt, like some type of like holy trinity of God, my father, and my boss.
Well, hey man, I'll tell you what. Like, my father's my boss and my dad's, obviously. So, what do we do? What do we do in those cases, or the rest of the family business folk out there? I mean, he basically is God to you in that case. Not literally, obviously, but
Gosh, that would be a good that'd be a good little segment. I'd like to get people's hear things from people on, even if just anonymous things, interactions with your boss. Like, I can't say that I've heard, and I guess like in the last 5 years, like too many interactions with a boss that have been really confrontational like that. Like I was talking to my dad, and I was like, I can't remember the last time that we were just extremely mad at each other. I mean, I've been irritated, I've been frustrated, but straight up, yelling at each other or just pissed off, I don't know.
Nah, my old man, been flipping. We go through phases and waves where it's like, okay, we're all good, and then we'll have like a boardroom meeting, and like I moved a tent. I used a tent, or I used like a car charger kind of thing. And we start the boardroom meeting. He sits down and asks me right about it. You know what I mean? And like, grumpily for that matter, right? It's like, are we fucking really going to, I swore, but are we really going to start this meeting like that? It's like, come on, man. Like, and there's a couple of people, other teammates in the room too. It's like, one of them, it's not his first time. The other one, it's probably his second time. It's like, man, like, come on, like, save this for afterwards, right? But, so it happens in waves for us on our, in our part of the world.
Oh man, not as much for us. Gosh, I don't really meet with my old man that much in a work capacity. He's just like, you know what, just leave me alone. Go out and make me some money.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah, these are always hung up on jobs and whatnot like that. So they're the testy ones where we're trying to solve problems, right? Where it's it just happens sometimes, right?
Yeah, absolutely. You what have you been working on lately?
Mostly same things, kind of metering projects, doing some combo of sales and not necessarily project management, more account management and coordinating the right people to be on site to solve the problems.
Right.
Now we put in one of the fanciest malls in Toronto. We have about 250 meters going on in there. And we're doing tenant billing and whatnot. And we're struggling on determining whether it's like a Jace challenge, a network challenge, long runs and tons of meters, right? Mostly backnet, some pulse. Pulse meters suck.
Yeah.
Like if your Jace goes down or isn't communicating, those pulses are gone, right?
Yeah, that's why even if what are you pulling the pulse meters back to? Are you just pulling it to like a NDIO board or?
I think we're doing the Honeywell Jaces, like a Jace I think we installed them a little while ago, probably about 3 years ago, I think. And I think they were Jace 300s.
Okay. Yeah. I'm sure that there's a way, like, do you guys have logic in there to save those pulse counts? I'm just saying,
Yeah.
there's if you actually had like for instance, I know like Distat controller, just specifically like one that I'm thinking of, because they have they actually have a property for it. When it's doing something like that, getting a pulse count, anything like that, it's got a property that you can check on the input, and it's or even the counter box, and it's like utilize or maintain persistence. So that means in any type of controller download, a power failure, anything like that, it maintains that last number, and then when it starts picking up again, just keeps counting. So there's never it never gets that reset.
No, yeah, we got those the logic in there not to lose the count, or I mean, we're transferring the data through one of the other softwares we have is we call it Tenant Tracker, and basically through Obix we're pinging into the Jaces and pulling it up, and then essentially formatting the data into bills or into a CMEP, California Metering Energy Protocol, basically CSV file that we send to a utility. So we have the information no matter what, but it's still, if that pulse is pulsing, when that Jace isn't counting those pulses, you missed them, right? And then you go and you look at the cheap check meter right beside the expensive smart meter, and they're not the same. I mean, face to face they're the same, but face to Jace is not the same. And I don't know, man. It's a tough go sometimes on those.
Yeah. Sometimes that is what it is. That's why I like those. I like those backnet meters. I know we've used the Verus ones a number of times, and you get so much data. I mean, if you're in an industrial setting or anything like that, you can get, your power factors and everything like that. There's they just give you a lot of information as opposed to, a pulse every whatever 2 kilowatts or half kilowatt, whatever. And then because I've had some buildings before where I'm getting a pulse and I'm seeing it happen. There's like, every pulse is half kilowatt, and I'm looking at it, and apparently one building is drawing half the amount of power as the building right next to it, but it's twice as big. And I'm like, look, this isn't right.
Meter configures, like that would be something I would throw out to the Control Trends community. Like at least in Ontario, they are our province, which similar to state. We have mandatory energy reporting coming through now. Last year, buildings of 250,000 square feet have to report their energy consumption publicly. I think this year they're doing 100,000 square foot buildings, and then next year it's 50,000. So becoming a certified energy manager to provide some details and strategies for that, as well as performing the sub metering, is a great opportunity for contractors in Ontario. But I think this is a trend that's going to probably go. It's going to expand outside of Ontario, or it's maybe in other states or countries as well. Oh yeah, well, I mean it's kind of one of those things. Like when you go to those trade shows or anything like that, and you see these what you would kind of think of as just these crazy new innovative technologies, or like the ideas of, hey, this is how this is going to be done, or these are the standards that they're going to want you to meet. And you're just like, oh man, where's that happening? It's California. It's like it'll be to the East Coast in like 6 years. Yeah, well, exactly. California's been pushing it. They're always way ahead of it, right? Yeah, 100%. That's that just seems to be like even a trend. I got a buddy who's kind of a big time sports physical therapist, and I'm asking him, like, so I'll have like issues with my shoulder or my neck, so he'll help me out with that, and he's kind of showing me these techniques or things that
I haven't heard of before. Probably most of the people on like the East Coast haven't really heard of it. I'm like, where do you pick this up? He's like, well, I've got some contacts out on the West Coast, and they'll always send me over things, patch over stuff, and it transitions across. Even like I was talking to him and another guy. They were talking about if you've ever used those foam rollers, everything like that, or even CrossFit fitness trends, like they just seem to start over there and move their way.
Yeah. Have you ever done the float therapy or heard of it? They got to be around there in Atlanta area.
No, I haven't.
Oh,
I can't say, what, you just like go get in the pool? Oh no, wait a second.
Oh my!
Where you get in like the whirlpool and like reset your energy?
There's different purposes for it. I think like Joe Rogan's been on it of the float therapy for its sensory deprivation ultimately.
Oh yeah. Where you get into like you just get into that little pod and there's like it's nothingness.
It is. I did it. I was in Halifax working with BCS through Canada Controls. And my best buddy lives there. He's in the Army. He's on the naval base there. And it was his birthday, so I was like, "Well, listen, man, have you ever done this float therapy?" He's like, "Dude, I've been reading about this and wanting to try it for 6 months." I was like, "Well, let's do it." And honestly, it was like combining physio, chiropractor, massage therapy, and honestly, probably like call it psychotherapy, I suppose, too, all in one.
Huh.
Yeah, you get in.
Interesting.
Yeah, you open the pod door, and you can leave the pod door open, and it's super salted water, basically. So you think like the Dead Sea where you just float, right? And you can close the door ultimately if you want, but I like to leave it kind of cracked open. We did it twice in 2 days because we walked out of it, and he's got chronic pain kind of thing, and I played sports too, so my back's sore, and we both strut out of there. And we're like looking at each other, and we were so relaxed. It was honestly unbelievable. We had to go back the next day and try it again.
Wow. Huh.
Yeah, it's something I honestly, as I came out of it, I would recommend to almost mandatory, like people in high stress positions, physically active regardless. You got to try it. It was the coolest thing I ever did, actually.
Interesting. I'll have to look at that, see if they got any of those around Atlanta, and give that a try. That's a good little factoid there.
Yeah, hop in there, get your wife to go with you, and then you're separate. You don't go together, and you wouldn't want to anyway. But and honestly, it just gives you time to totally reflect and relax and kink your body out was what I found. Like, never mind the sensory deprivation for the mental purpose of it, but just wiggling your body out and stretching out. Like it was amazing. Interesting.
Yeah, I'll see about that. I know I'll watch the news down here, and one of the big things that they're touting, you'll see commercials for both that it's amazing and other that it's a scam, is like these little these kind of random companies that are coming up and starting to do their own stem cell injections.
Yeah.
I've seen so many things on the news down here about how it has just messed some people up. Like, they've gotten people in there that are like 65 years old start injecting this stuff into them, and then they're in like 3 times as much pain. They can't walk around.
Oh, no.
And the company's just like, well, you should try it. Just keep going. You can't just do a little bit.
Holy moly. Yeah, I'm not sure about that stuff. I read an article on the National Post yesterday, funny enough, about the stem cells, and they're mixing, like they're already throwing human embryos or, human stuff into like pigs to say grow body parts, right? To replace body parts. And they're doing it with other things as well, but monkeys, and they're starting to mess with the brain with monkeys with this stuff. And China's already doing it. And I think in Canada, it's actually legal as long as you're not putting like monkey into human. You can put human into anything. Yeah. And it's a huge ethical topic. I mean, that's Planet of the Apes stuff,
I don't know. I've heard different things about it. Obviously, don't go to a place that says chiropractor, physical massage therapist, stem cell. Don't get injected by that place. Like,
No.
somewhere else. But what was it? I think it was Mel Gibson took his father down. I don't know if he went to Central America, South America. I was being told this story, and pretty much, it's Mel Gibson. The guy's pretty famous, infamous, however you want to look at it. And best doctors, Western medicine pretty much said, you have 6 months to live. Nothing we can do. There's nothing like that. He took his father down, did the stem cell therapy, whatever exactly they do. I think it was 5 years ago or something. His father is doing great. That was the story I heard on it, and I was like, there's definitely things out there that obviously, John Q. Public is not privy to. It's kind of like how Magic Johnson made it so long with HIV. You got HIV. I had an uncle got HIV, died, I think, within 12 months. Back in he died back in 1994. Imagine when you got that thing in the late 80s, early 90s, it was a death sentence. Like, you were going to die. There was nothing. And then Magic Johnson, he looks better than me.
He's still kicking. Well, you look at Keith Richards. I mean, that's a great example. I mean, the guys, they just played a show in Toronto, the whole Stones thing. And Keith Richards, I mean, the guy's a maniac. And he's still, if you watch his documentary on Netflix he's got going now, he's still pretty coherent, man. And the guy, I mean, come on. Longest living heroin addict. Every time he comes into Canada, he gets busted with cocaine. I mean, smokes cigarettes and pot like a chimney and still kicking. Hey, I don't know.
Oh, that's a big thing with all that. Genetics. Kind of like I got I got bad orthopedics from my mom. Just is what it is. But you see people, what was the other one? I was trying to think about people who have healthy habits and versus unhealthy habits. Okay. So you were just talking about Keith Richards. There was a movie on the other day. You ever seen it? Roadhouse?
Roadhouse. No, I don't think I have.
What? Oh, with Patrick Swayze?
Maybe. I don't remember movies well, even if I've seen them.
Oh, God. You got to watch this one. It's a classic 80s movie called Roadhouse. But anyway, Patrick Swayze was just like the beacon of physical fitness and health. Especially, huge international superstar, really big in America. And I don't know how many years back, but he died of pancreatic cancer. And so you got him doing that. And then you got Keith Richards just still going.
Still rocking out. It's luck of the draw. Now, the other thing, I guess we're on some kind of health topics kind of thing here. Something I wish was real. I was in Nashville for my buddy's bachelor party. We're at Coyote Ugly.
Oh, how was that, man? I've heard, I love that you brought that up. I've heard, so Nashville, I'm sure you probably know, is like one of the bachelorette capitals of the United States. Like,
oh yeah,
girls always go there. And so someone brought that up. There's like, well, if you guys are trying to have a rockin' bachelor party, why don't you just go and party with this other group that's pretty much doing the same thing? Like, you're probably guaranteed to have a wild time.
Yep, we did it for my bachelor party. We did it for my buddies as well. Nashville's, I mean, to be fair, I'm not a country music guy, first of all. And so it's the only place I ever been in a bar all night and heard like 3 to 4 songs in a row that I didn't know. I'm more of a New Orleans kind of guy. You know what I mean? Where even if I don't know the music, I love the horns, right? But so at Coyote Ugly, which is, I mean, there's a movie about that. One of the most fun places you can go, I think. They had IV sessions. Like there was in the bathroom, the whatever advertisements right in front of your face, IV treatment. So you could go there, get IV'd up and get rehydrated and kick your hangover in what would probably be half an hour.
That's interesting.
But even like our lives, like you wake up every morning, get yourself hydrated instantly, like you probably perform better.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. I know that that's one of the things that seen, I don't know, you run across those articles where it talks about what these insanely successful people do. And I feel like I've seen that on a couple of them. First they wake up at a super early time, like wakes up every morning at 4 a.m. and drinks 2 bottles of 55-degree water, 32-degree water. So,
yep.
Something like that just to get going. The one that I haven't been able to do is get up and take an ice cold shower.
I don't want to do that.
I won't do that. Like I said, I don't have the best orthopedics. I need to get into the shower and get loosened up and get ready to go. Jumping in there and taking a cold shower is not good. I can imagine it'd wake you up though.
I'm like a pool guy. As soon as the summer comes up, like I'll shower at nighttime, but I wake up in the morning. I just cannonball into my neighbors or my parents next door. So what was it? God, neighbor? No, God, boss, father. Well, what about neighbor in there, right? But anyway, I wake up in the morning. I go cannonball in the pool. I come up, get sorted, and get the heck to work. I can be out the door in about 10 minutes flat.
Gosh, that's interesting. You say neighbor. I think we've got one really good neighbor right to our right. Like they're awesome people. But I would say the most other of my neighbors, I just don't want to see them. They just like there's no doubt there have been multiple times actually. Somebody just got evicted. In my neighborhood, you have a bunch of people that are buying up houses and then they're renting them out. Well, one of the renters just got evicted, and I swear their stuff has been sitting in the yard for 4 days, and it is down here. We've been getting like Florida weather where it rains unbelievably hard, and then it heats back up to 95. And so this stuff has been rained on no less than half a dozen times, and it's just jeez.
So it's toast. They've wrecked it entirely.
Yeah, and I heard these people aren't coming back to get it. Like that, they're not coming back. They're just waiting for somebody else. But you got that. There's no doubt. There's been some drug dealers that have lived in my neighborhood. Like I would see these guys just sitting out on the porch, and then see about half a dozen cars come through in an hour. They stay for about 5-10 minutes and they go. And it's like you smell what's coming from the house.
Oh yeah, Canada doesn't have that problem anymore, man. We just order it online.
Yeah.
Okay, so we got Powell and it looks like one of his friends here from Controma. We got some Polish guys we're bringing on today, like a true radio show. We got our first caller. Powell, why don't you introduce yourself and what you guys do?
Okay, my name is Paweł Daniel, and I'm CEO of Controma, the Polish integrator of buildings automation. And here is also Darek, CEO founder of Controma.
Yes, hello, hi.
Okay, and a few words about me. I used to say that I create a building management system, starting from making a project, commissioning, ending with system services. And this way of speaking was an engineering style of speaking. And when I started going to business meetings and I was talking in this way, many people didn't know what I was talking about. They thought that the building management system is something difficult and hard topic to discuss, and they didn't want to talk about it. And I began to say that I changed the classic buildings in smart buildings, and it started to work and allows me to talk about smart buildings. So
Pavel, you what you're saying is originally when you were doing sales, you were talking about building management systems or sometimes building automation systems, but the people you were talking to didn't know what that was and they weren't interested in learning about it.
Exactly. So from that time, I'm used to say that I'm the evangelizer of building management system.
Awesome.
Did you catch that evangelizer that not only sell and build, but also talk and inform others about building management system?
So,
And I think,
Kyle,
go ahead.
right there, you said you were the evangelizer.
Could you repeat?
Did you say like evangelizer, like evangelical, kind of like old school, like preacher or stuff like that?
Yes, something like that.
Okay, I got you. That's funny. Well, we haven't met before. I'm Brent Burrows. I'm Aaron's co-host. You said that, it just struck a chord with me. I live in Atlanta, Georgia, so we're from the South, and we've got I guess our big evangelical guy, Billy Graham. Actually, I think they got a museum. He died a few years ago, but you said that. I just had to ask, make sure I heard you correctly. So you are the Billy Graham of building controls in Poland.
Yes.
Awesome.
And why I do this? Because I believe that new technologies should help people. Yes, and building management system is one of these new technologies. Should I help people, and I very believe it.
Okay.
Now, Pavel, when we first met, I think we connected on LinkedIn. What you were talking about doing originally, I think it's changed a little bit, but essentially outsourcing some of our programming or perhaps drawings from North America into Poland. How has that mission changed or evolved?
It is shame to say, but nothing has happened in this area because my everyday job involves me so much that I haven't time to propagate my idea that transfer engineering work from Polish to America or East Europe.
Huh. Well, and that's like when we were hanging out together in Poland in Gdansk. You're asking me what were my work hours and how often I was working, and how often do you work? Like, what do your hours look like?
I think that it's about 10 hours a day. Yes, and 5 days in a week.
And how long do you sleep every night? What's the sleep schedule look like? 8 hours, 5 hours, 0 sometimes?
No, I take care about it, and I sleep about 7 hours.
I gotcha. Good. No, it's funny. You said the thing there about your schedule being so packed, and I feel like that's something that we can all relate to. We all get into, I think, when you kind of hit those cycles in business where things are kind of slowing down, or you make the plans and you're like, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this, here's the goals, and then you get slammed busy, and all of a sudden you come up 6 months later and you're just like, well, I know I've been really busy, but this stuff got done. I think that's why they got the saying, man plans, God laughs.
Okay.
No. I like that one. That's a good one. I never heard that one before.
I just made it up.
No. But it has to change. And I believe that I want to have more time for marketing and to make some revolution in building automation because I like building management system, but people who I met every day, they don't understand how to building management system is working, and what is really important in that.
I gotcha.
So you
Go ahead, Aaron.
no, you go ahead. I'm good.
Okay. Well, I was just curious. So I know that you're the president, CEO, the big title at Controma. Can you tell me how long has Controma been around, and then you in the industry? How long have you been in it?
Mm-hmm. We have Controma from 3 years, and we have 5 engineers now at this moment.
I gotcha. Well, I guess since you guys have started up, what have you seen has been the biggest change in the building controls, building management industry, where you're at, and kind of where do you see it going here in the next few years?
Mm-hmm. I think that the process of making BMS is very important, and it has to change, because in this moment we have to have a lot of time to make project of building management system.
Mm-hmm.
And this should be very automated to save our time.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
I gotcha.
Hello. I would like to add that from those several years, I think that the most changing thing right now is moving all the BMS to the cloud. This is not happening right now in Poland because of the workflow in Poland and the projects. But I think in several years the BMS should be moved to the cloud.
I got you. That's a great point there, and I think that really is a big driver right now with everything. The big buzzwords that have been around for a while now. IoT, Internet of Things, and then the cloud, and those things kind of going hand in hand with. What's the other thing? I think I was at Niagara Summit, the last one, 2018. It was in New Orleans, but they were talking about taking everything to the edge. So basically creating, it's no longer just large, your large servers that are going to be connected to the internet or are going to be all networked together, but they're talking about doing it. And now it's field controllers, that there's so many IP-based field controllers. Then they're going to be doing,
exactly,
temperature sensors, everything like that. So you're going to have all that information, and opposed to using, the older, whether, it's relatively now slower speeds, field bus, 485 connections. You're going to have, a sensor that hooks right into a network and then shoots up to, an analytics service, up in the cloud, or even they're bringing those analytics service down at the sensor and field controller level. It's a very exciting time. It's moving really fast, but I love what you said there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Now I got a question for you you guys are all more technical than me now. We follow up and do a lot of wiring for these guys, but what they're doing is hosting like the logic of the controller in the cloud.
Ooh.
So yeah, it's cheaper install overall, but just like we were talking earlier, Brent, about the metering and if the Jace goes down and whatnot. But so what happens when you lose connection to the cloud? What happens? Like, you have standalone operations. What do you guys think about putting logic off-site and then internet connectivity issues? Is that, what does everybody think about that?
Mm-hmm. This is very good question, and we many times were talking about it. Derek, could you say something?
I think that the main task of the cloud should be to analyze data, not to move the logic to the cloud. Because, as you said, the connective problems could also happen, and the controllers on the site should always maintain some primary functions to have the building being controlled. So it shouldn't be only the data to analyze or to small small changes should be should be performed on the cloud. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And going into details, we prefer, for example, Niagara Supervisor in a cloud and a JACE in the building, because a JACE can be in some time as buffer, and when the controller is offline, JACE collect data, and when it is online again, it sends all data to the cloud.
Yeah, I think I'd go right along with what they said there. As far as hosting logic in the cloud, now if you're talking maybe about like analytics, that'll or predictive maintenance, things like that, to feed back in to something that's local on site, a server, and drive certain outcomes, maybe for what is it, like building demand or things such as that, trying to anticipate times of the day and then push that information. That's back. I'm fine with that being up there. But in terms of hosting logic to drive like hardware outputs, like I don't want a sensor going to the cloud and then interpreting the logic there and then that shooting a command back down to, let's just say, like an IP actuator and driving or driving a valve like that. That seems dangerous, and it's just an unnecessary use of bandwidth of your network going back and forth. That'd be nuts.
Okay.
Well, and that's kind of what I had kind of felt and heard about it too. It's like, this is scary. I mean, for us, it's okay. We're following behind them and cleaning it up, and they're actually, our HVAC service division is getting work out of it too. So ultimately, if it fails, it could land in good standing for us. But scary kinda.
Yeah.
Okay. Can we play with something like that we would compare building management system in our country and yours BMS?
Sure.
For example, if a building management system is completed and finished when the building is open.
Occupancy.
Yeah.
Well, we can talk about the projects. The projects in your country, in our country, I think they are kind of similar because they are based on some kind of similar controllers. But the differences are in the realization or commissioning in Poland, in Britain, and other countries. So what are the main problems that you have to cope with in commissioning out there?
Aaron, I'll let you take this one first.
I would probably say the hardest part for us during commissioning is when you have to integrate to, say, the makeup air units and boilers, and getting that manufacturer's rep, who hopefully knows what they're doing, to get on site on time and stay there until it integrates cleanly. For sure. From there, I would say it's splitting between, finishing what is a project's commissioning and expectations. The building turns over to the property managers or facility management team and then moves into service. I would say that transition between project and service and warranty and commissioning into chargeable service is challenging.
I would say for us, and so little background on more of the work that I do. Company I work with, we don't do new construction. We try to stay out of that market. The margins are just kind of razor thin, and there's really there's no relationship. At least if you're bidding, you're working new construction. And I don't know how it is for you guys in Poland, but if you're doing the new construction, typically you'll be working underneath the general contractor.
Yep.
So ultimately, what the general contractor's job, that to me, seems to be, is to meet the spec, get the job done for as cheap as possible. So
exactly.
That doesn't ultimately, in my view, it doesn't lead to the best result for ultimately the owner, the end user, or for the controls provider, because pretty much you're in there. You're the low cost bid, if that's what they decide to go with, and then anything that maybe doesn't look right or they don't like how it is, you're getting beaten up just over everything. So we kind of try to stay out of that market. I've had a few experiences on that side with the commissioning where I've worked there with the commissioning agent, and the spec we've met the spec and it checks off. It does exactly what it says it should do in spec, but that's not necessarily the best strategy, the best thing for that building. And it's not necessarily somewhere where you were involved in the design process of it. So, what the old saying, they don't like us to cuss on this, but, basically crap in, crap out, kind of winds up with that. But in the, going back to more of what we do in the retrofit side, the commissioning process, I think one of the biggest things there, because unless you're doing really large projects, I don't find most buildings don't do an RFP and then hire out, a consultant and then hire a commissioning firm or, a consulting engineer to come back in and do this. So with the commissioning process, it's just making sure that your own internal processes and your sides they're buttoned up and they're, basically ensuring the functionality of the IO, the whole building management system as a whole, and making sure that you have someone that's doing it that's not too close to the work. One of the things that we found in our company in terms of commissioning a site, like let's say I go do a job and I'm on site for 4 months. If I do the commissioning on that job, I've been there, I know the building the best, but there may be inefficiencies, there may be stuff that doesn't quite make sense with it. But I've learned those things, so they're automatic to me. So I just kind of think around them. But to someone else that, somebody that would be fresh to the product, like if Aaron or one of you guys were to drive to the site, you'd be like, well, what does this do? In my mind, I've made those little connections in those highways. So I don't even think about it. I guess, so the long way around, I would say that making sure that your internal processes are there in a retrofit and kind of doing peer commissioning. I think that for us, that works best.
Mm-hmm. Yes, from those things you both said, those are our motivation to move to the service, not from the commissioning, because as you said, the projects are not always performing the best for the investor, and we know that when we are below the general contractor, we don't have any options to move to do something better. And if we went on the building that already exists, already is running, we can, let's say straight, sell our knowledge to make some improvements on this building and to make investor happy and
right.
Yeah. So this is why we also have problems performing commissioning. We are bouncing from the wall. We not always know how to do some kind of tasks because we know that something should be done in a different way. For example, moving BMS to the cloud or some kind of part of the system to the cloud. The project is with its own constraints that we can't move around. So this is problem. And we also trying to move more to the service or to the existing buildings from commissioning new contracts.
Mm-hmm. Facility management companies understand us very well, and they want to have a better BMS, and they also know that it is too late to change our BMS, because they also go into building after commissioning.
Yes, we are also meeting some problems that are expanding right now, that buildings are evolving into much more complicated systems, and the technical management is still reducing down, because everybody thinks that BMS will solve all of the problems, and even to that point that in some kind of buildings there are even no one to operate the BMS, so no one can explain to us what's the problem with what kind of system. Is it the lighting? Is it the switches? Is it the for example fan coil units? There are no operator, and this is the problem, because we have no feedback. So when we don't have any feedback, we don't know how to help those guys.
Brent, what do you guys are heavy into exactly that retrofit market. What are some of the tactics maybe you guys use to help that? Like, you know, I know a company in Palmer who uses technologies in Ohio. They actually have a monitoring where literally every morning they jump on to a building's BMS, they get paid for it, and they do a service report every day and basically comb through their buildings. But how do you guys do it in those scenarios?
Well, that's one of the things that many companies have done for really a number of years, especially when connectivity to these BMS systems has been, readily available via an internet browser, your phone, anything like that. Monitoring, even, obviously you have large, like national retail accounts. They have monitoring companies, whether they're local to the United States, they're overseas. They do that monitoring, but for a number of years, even in our market, we would go as HVAC contractors, and we'd be like, "Hey, what's your control system doing?" And they'd be like, "Oh, we don't log into that. We call a guy." I think this guy was making $3,000 a month to make set point changes and something like that. I was like, great racket if you can get into it.
That's where you come in and say, "Hey, by the way, we do controls, and we can probably team it together and probably save you money. I mean, we can do it for that price and give you more, probably."
Well, actually, this was like 12, 15 years ago, and we were working. We did the mechanical in the building, and they'd have to call this guy up and try and make set point changes or turn things on, and he wouldn't get to it for like 2 or 3 hours. And then I think we had to do a mechanical job in there, and there had to be some controls done in it. Something like integrating some VFDs, maybe just doing start, stop, speed, status, whatever. And we're like, "Hey, we're doing 2 of these VFDs. What's it going to take for you to, throw the extra outputs on the controller and then update the front end?" And it was something like $20,000. Mm-hmm. And it was pretty much at that point, like, I guess, the management looked kind of intact. It's like, or we're not going to have to go through this anymore. We're going to start doing this stuff in-house. And, but in terms of going back and doing the monitoring, that's not something that we really do. We do our best to make sure that we set up everything going out however the customer needs it, routing their alarms, whether it's through email, text message, different alert mechanisms like that, whether, you can set up alarm portals on TVs, maybe around the site. But one of the big things that I'm seeing with the monitoring more, as opposed to somebody getting on the sites and kind of driving through them, and I'm sure that they have good mechanisms in there for bringing things to the forefront so they don't drive through the whole thing. But that's where really the big thing with analytics and, all the different dashboards you can create with that and the algorithms that you can apply, whether it's site-wide or company-wide or kind of your whole envelope of building sites that you take care of. That would be what I would say is ultimately, big picture, the easiest way to kind of remedy that, as opposed to having somebody that monitors your stuff when they get into the office, is more, the analytics service that you can provide and update that monitors the site 24/7.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yeah, on that note, a little plug-in for SkySpark here, or Sky Foundry. I got an email. I think lots of people probably did. They're in their symposium this year. They're looking for speakers. So listeners out there, get in on that. If you have any experience with SkySpark, our company, I've said this before, we looked at it a long time ago and decided that we would let other people, run with it first. So in our company, we're not using it, but we do understand the power of it. And anybody using SkySpark there, get in there and get a chance to do the speaker session. It's a great, I've done it before too, and it's a really good endeavor for anybody.
Mm-hmm. I think that SkySpark is a good tool, but our clients don't want to pay for analyzing data. In this moment, they want to have only no alarms, everything green, and this is it.
Yeah, the other problem is that many systems are still closed for SkySpark, so it's a kind of hard job to go into the building and to make some improvements with a low cost to make this happen.
Mm-hmm. For example, tagging is very easy to integrate with SkySpark, but in Poland nobody do that because this is a time, the less time you work, the more you earn.
Well, and that's the reality of all this, especially new construction on that drive to the bottom. I'm working with our local construction associations a lot right now, instead of traveling around selling ant. And I think we're trying to move it back from the lowest bid into what we used to call the bid repository, in that, everybody, all control contractors say, or all mechanicals, doesn't matter, everybody bids and your bid goes into a box, and generals or mechanicals, everybody can choose which bid they want to work with. Doesn't necessarily have to be the lowest cost, but they can pick the companies they want to work with. So that in those cases, with a good proposal, and a good reputation in the industry, that would, it makes no sense to me at all to race to the bottom. Like, you buy a cheap anything and it doesn't work.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And I have one question for you. Could you define or name the main value which you give your clients? because many people talks about strategy, about value that is providing to clients, and how can you name your main value?
Value. For us personally at Aeron, it's all about our software that we built. We allow customers to access everything we do in a building through a portal, from a service report, a work order, a piece of equipment, everything you've done in it. So when we're communicating value, ultimately that's number one for our company is accountability. We're not scared of being accountable, and transparency. We want to show you everything we do because we're not scared of it. And that's worth money, I think, to a lot of contractors or a lot of people.
Mm-hmm. I gotcha.
Okay.
For us, one of what our value would be is obviously industry expertise, knowledge. I think we've been around for 25 years, and then being able to come in from both sides in terms of controls, having a lot of experience, expertise there, as well as the HVAC mechanical side. So not just knowing how to control the equipment, but also how the equipment should work, has worked, being able to do all of that stuff, I think is valuable to customers, being able to kind of have a one-stop shop, because I've seen them, I'm sure you guys have as well, where maybe you have, if a company just does controls and then you have a separate HVAC vendor, then there's always going to be back and forth. If something's not turning on or something's not cooling, can be a little bit of a fight back and forth in between them. Or then you have just the HVAC company maybe does a little bit of controls. They don't have the expertise to really do the more complicated things. So our biggest value is kind of being a one-stop shop for everything.
Mm-hmm.
How about you guys?
Our main value is, I think, free mind our clients, because if we do our BMS in a good way, he doesn't worried about all installation, I think.
And one of the tasks we are trying to perform is that in Poland, I don't know what is about in other countries, but in Poland the main problem is that we have very big, very complicated agreements. Yeah, very complicated agreements. And it's not in any way representing the real problems in the BMS systems. We are trying to solving those problems to make customers happy, sleep peacefully,
and comfortably.
Yes. So this is the main road we are tracking to there's not always we do.
Maybe some example about fan coils to pipes system in Mercedes. Can you tell?
Yeah, exactly. So sometimes we give even solutions to our partners, to our customers that are not in contract, but we are trying to just make it right, make it work okay. So for example, one of our customers had problems with the power. With the power of the power was they were losing power because of the unstable power source, and this kind of problem related to all I think almost all of the devices on the site. The devices were crashing, and they didn't know how to. What's the real problem? They thought that the problem were about the devices, but the problem was about the unstable power in the system. So we just made a service plan for them that they have to check this power, to control it, so they can. And we did it for free because we just wanted to make this these relations between us to be just to be good.
I think you really hit on it right there with the last thing you said is you said relations to be good. And that's ultimately the biggest thing is it has to be a relationship. It has to be a partnership. The best thing that I feel that we can do as contractors is really just provide that value. Obviously, we're all here. Everybody, we wouldn't make it very long if we didn't make money. But if that ultimately is your goal out of your only goal out of the business deal that you have, to me it's just not sustainable. That partnerships aren't sustainable. That it's got to be a relationship. Like you said, you just did that for you did it to foster a good relationship. You guys, maybe that right there didn't make you any money, that particular task, but then, improving that relationship and then work down the line and being associated as kind of that value provider, the solutions provider, is going to be much better. Not only just for that relationship right there with maybe that customer or that building, but to people that they know in their network. They're going to tell them about you. Or really the great thing and stuff that's helped us in our company is people remember that. So in kind of the buildings industry or, the big national retail is people move. They move to different companies. They move to different industries.
Yes.
But if you provided that value for them, they're going to take you with them. So that's really good.
Now, I would add one thing to that, and I think it's the art of it. Something we learned, and that I kind of still, and it creates conflict at times, but I always put a price together first. Like if we're going to do that power servicing thing, like I show them a fair value for that service, right? So then they know what and you can choose to waive that, right? And to build the relationship, but then at least they know what they got out of it, because you don't always get all that. So I think that would be the one piece I would add to that is, listen, this is what it's worth, right? If and we're choosing to waive that for this reason. We want to build a relationship with you. So what you've done in the value is you've established a dollar value, and then they can see what your time is worth. Because otherwise what you can end up in is scenarios where people start to expect free, right? Yeah. And then you start giving them bills eventually, and they're like, well, what is this? It's like, well, that's what it costs to do it. You always did this for free, right? So
yes.
Depending on the customer and whatnot, but that's something to be aware of.
I agree with that. I agree with that. We use Aaron's project tracker for our company down here. And when Aaron came and sold it to us, he said, look, this software, the training is this, and then each user of this software, it's going to make you so unbelievably efficient and track your project so well. Each user is worth $50,000. But for you, Brent, what I'm going to do is I'm going to give it to you for $500 a user. So essentially what we're sitting on right now is $1 million software for just a steal.
There's on that note, Brent, I don't know if you see all the the updates that go out, but there's we put a ton of focus into the project side of things with hours now. That meta search view that you and your dad had wanted, it's getting closer to the top of the docket.
Nice.
We're basically into a development and test and fix mode right now with a couple of the big missions we got going on. But anyway, it's getting it's freaking getting close to really wickedly cool.
Very, very cool. I think one of the big things on that, if you guys get to the point of being able to bring up your projects and see like the completion percentage on like a dashboard view, or even just like a straight line, and being able to sort by like completion percentage, that'd be pretty slick.
Active versus inactive, and then basically a push button report that shows you where everything is. Yeah, it shouldn't be hard. It's just it's getting into doing it. We had to collect hours first, so you can see how many hours are being used versus the tasks, etc. Anyway, sales pitching time, so I got to peel out.
So you invite us to use Project Tracker?
I can send you anything you want about it. Absolutely. It's
give it to him.
We'll do it another time. We'll do it another. Not on this podcast. I can't. We pumped the sale up. Brent's telling me we got $1 million. So yes.
Yeah, right, man. We've been talking about all this free stuff. I think Aaron's just going to give it to you.
Here's the value. Make it work, right? Yeah.
Okay.
I gotcha. Well, very cool, guys. I got to hop off. I got something to go to, but been awesome talking with you guys. Wish you the best, and hope to catch up with you guys soon. See more of your work.
Okay.
Yep. Same to you. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Goodbye.
All right, guys.
Yeah, I'm gonna stay on, guys. If you want to switch this to a little bit more personal side of things, what's the weather like in Poland right now?
It's sunny, about 25 degrees of Celsius.
Yep.
And it's very, very cool. What about you?
Yeah, in Canada and Toronto, it's about the same. We find our summer came late. Like when I was there in, April, you guys had your leaves out already. Our leaves didn't come out until, honestly, I think the end of May. In Toronto area, which is really late for us. Usually it's the first week of May.
Okay.
But Brent was saying he's hanging out like in Florida. It's raining every day, and then it heats up to 90 degrees Fahrenheit every day. It's like, whew, I'm glad I'm not there. It's too hot for me.
Okay. Yeah, we have that kind of heat 2 weeks ago. For 2 weeks, about 35 to 40 degrees in the sun. So it was like desert, the sun was killing us. And now it is 25 degrees, and this is just chill.
Oh, it's so nice. Now you guys in Gdansk, they would have like the humidity from the sea, but you guys aren't so much on the humidity side where you guys are in Poznan, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, which is northeast of Krakow, correct?
Northeast. Yep, exactly.
You are good.
I remember. I spent a lot of time, looking at that map there. Yeah, it was fun. Thanks for taking us out. Actually, by the way, in Poland, that was in Gdansk. That was really cool. I'll have to share. Maybe I can't share it here, but the picture of that pirate ship, that was cool. That was one of the coolest things I think I ever seen. And then the beauty of the city, of course.
Okay.
So are you coming to the Poland? Do you have any plans to come to Poland?
Maybe the 18th of November this year.
What's 18th of November? What's going on then?
Wesley Arms concert in Warsaw.
Oh, yes. That was actually one of the things I wanted to talk about here is I send out invites, to the Ant Colony and other things for, my favorite Canadian band, the Glorious Sons. And I watch your tour and they're playing in Poland. So, yeah, you guys got a couple tickets there. Maybe I can make it work. We'll see how it goes. If nothing else, man, go and rock out there. It is. The Glorious Sons is a better show than Welsh Arms, but Welsh Arms is a tighter band, right? So you get like a rock concert that's loose and wild coupled afterwards with Welsh Arms that is more of a a cleaner, tighter band versus fun and rock, right? But the Glorious Sons opened for the Rolling Stones in Toronto like 2 weeks ago up north.
Mm-hmm. Very cool.
Yeah. So
okay, guys. What else you guys got on? You got anything else? I guess usually what we do is a takeaway, a leave away for something you guys may want. Sorry, I got a call coming in if it's breaking up. Anything you want to leave, everybody with? The whole control trend world is going to hear this. So closeout statements. Who you are, why people should work with you, and what makes you great.
Any idea to say?
On the spot sometimes,
Yeah.
and I know the language barrier. If you could say it in Polish if you want, yeah.
Jesteśmy tak i dlaczego powinni z nami pracować, tak?
Okay, so we are friendly people. We would like to perform difficult tasks. We would like to meet other people that are a fan of their jobs, and we would like to make this work go well, and to make everybody happy from our projects. I know.
You would believe that we would like to every buildings should be smart buildings, and if somebody believes the same what we should contact to us and talk about how is the best way to convert original or normal buildings and smart buildings.
So maybe what we'll do then is we'll make plans to keep you guys up on this loop so we can keep you in touch with it. It's pretty easy to do once we book it, obviously, right? That's the point of these practice things. Eventually you're going to be in front of a client and have to communicate these things and you know what I mean? So practice makes perfect. So good job, guys. We'll talk to you later, guys. Thank you for being on Control Trends, Next Generation Innovation Podcast.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you very much. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.